gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of the Arab Identity. With me in the studio is Dr. Abdallah AlRebh. Welcome, Dr. Abdallah.
Yeah.
Dr. Abdallah is Dr. AlRebh is an assistant professor of sociology of religion and sociological theory at Grand Valley State University. He is an academic and author with research interests in the Middle East, Arabic literature, and Islam. He earned a Ph.D. from Michigan State University, East Lansing in 2014, in addition to a Master of Sociology from MSU and a Master of Arabic Literature from King Saud University. He has published a number of academic articles and book chapters focusing on religion, Middle East social movements, and education. The major interest of Dr. AlRebh is Saudi Arabia and Islamic mobilization in Gulf Cooperation Council countries, the GCC. Prior to joining Grand Valley, Dr. AlRebh worked as a visiting assistant professor at Michigan State University and as adjunct faculty at Saginaw Valley State University. Welcome again, Dr. AlRebh.
Thanks, Mr. Wissam Sharafuddin. I really appreciate this invitation and hoping we're going to have a great discussion tonight.
Thank you. We started the first episode of the Arab Identity is going to be a long program presented by the Arab American Center for Culture and Arts to re-examine and refocus and re-narrate our Arab identity with modern lenses. With the first episode, we spoke about the meaning of identity, and then we spoke about with the meaning of Arab identity, and we came to a conclusion at the end of the episode that the Arab identity, in addition to it being defined politically as a person who is a member of the Arab countries that are part of the Arab League, or by language, this person who speaks Arabic as his mother tongue, or by heritage, a person who belongs in lineage to one of the Arab tribes. In addition to these definitions that have been set forth before, we've also came to a very important definition of the Arab identity, which is a person who identifies with, he belongs to the Arab identity, he identifies with it, he interacts with its values, he is happy for its achievements, he is sad for its setbacks, he is somehow connected, or she, to its customs, is to its traditions, to its heritage. يعني وجداني, يعني this spiritual relationship, this intellectual relationship with the identity, even though he might not speak the language. An example of that are many Arab expatriates who have moved to and immigrated to different countries, and they no longer, for example, speak Arabic, yet they still reckon themselves as an Arabic person. And also that excludes a person who really does not identify with the Arab identity. For a very long time in the Arab history, many different ethnicities identified themselves as Arabs, in addition to their different ethnicities. The Arab identity is more of a cultural and intellectual identity more than an ethnic identity. So a person could be Kurd and Arabic. He could be Chaldean and Arabic. He could be Assyrian and Arabic. And we have great examples of that in our history, from heroes and warriors and scholars and scientists. But also, we have today a person who is, for example, a Kurd and who does not want to identify as an Arab. So this last definition gives that freedom of that if you do not really feel belonging to this cultural group, then you are not it, basically. So it comes down to a matter of belonging. I wouldn't say it's a matter of choice, because belonging is not a choice, but it is a matter of really belonging, and it's a personal perspective. So before we get into our second episode, which we will speak about the Arabs before Islam, the Arab identity before Islam, maybe we can come a little bit and speak about the Arab identity after Islam, because you also have a lot of research on this subject. Before that, I want to take your opinion about the definition of the Arab identity.
Identity in general is a dilemma. And I always say in my classes, identity is about affinity. How deep affinity, what the measure of the deep affinity that you have to given part of your identity. We cannot deny in sociology or in social science in general, we always talk about what we call intersectional identity, which means each one of us is a member of different groups at one time, okay? Based on race, gender, sexuality, ethnicity, religion, sub-religious groups, all of those are different groups. We are members of them at the same time. Here's the thing, what's the most distinguished part that I like to be attributed to? And it's different, okay? For example, our friends who are Kurds or Amazigh, okay, by their language, by their heritage, by their tribes, they are not Arab. However, they live with Arab for a long time. They practice almost the same religion, either as majority Muslims or minority Christianity. So it's hard to identify anyone against his or her will. So we have one intersectional identity. So each one of us will try to utilize the part that serve their interest. For example, my Christian Arab student in Grand Valley, or what I have seen here in Michigan, they usually like to wear a big cross to distinguish themselves from other Arab. They try to deliver a clear message. Yes, I'm Arab, but I'm not Muslim. They don't have any problem with Islam, but they don't want to pay the price of the stereotype against Muslims. So yeah, it's a dilemma, but it's more about the sense of affinity to this source of identity.
Thank you. Yeah, it's a major myth that many people don't know, that actually the majority of Arab Americans in America are Christians, and they're not Muslims. And actually, the percentage of Muslims who are Arabs is 10 to 11%. And there are major countries that do not speak Arabic that are Muslim, and that so there's a lot of myths that circulate that subject. We emphasize. I want to emphasize, Dr. AlRebh, the belonging, the choice of belonging to an Arab identity while holding on to your ethnic heritage, that they're not necessarily contradicting. Like you said, there can be an intersectionality between them, and they can be harmoniously put together. They have been throughout history, but there are today, we live in certain circumstances where there are political tensions that causes this drift between them. And we are here in defense of in defense of Arab identity in general, because it has been under attack in certain regions. It has been demonized by media in many cases. So it gives incentives. It incentivizes people to separate from the Arab identity if they can. So this program, we are trying to re-examine this in defense of Arab identity.
And just to verify this, if India remains as one country, which means India, Pakistan, and Bangladesh, as one country, it would be today the major Muslim country. Even Muslims are going to be only minority compared with Hindu. The Muslims in this Great India would consist more than Arab people. If you can imagine, if we bring all Indian Muslims, and I know my Pakistani friends will not like this, but when I think about India as one nation, including Pakistan and Bangladesh, it has over 400 million Muslims, which means it's gonna have more Muslims than Arab people. So Muslims who look Indian are more than Arab who look Muslims who looks Arab.
Right. So and if Pakistan was not separated and it remained as one big India and Bangladesh, there are a lot more Muslims in India than in the Arab world put together. In Indonesia alone, there's 150 million Muslims, which is almost 1/3 almost, or of the number of. So we have some comments in Arabic. Although this program is in English, we will answer them in English and we will translate them. So Zahar Ajami, welcome again. You are a good follower of this program. Thank you for always your input. هناك مثل الموارنة في لبنان لا يحبون أن ينتمون إلى العروبة. She says that there is an example of the Maronites in Lebanon who usually do not like to belong to the Arab identity.
I don't think this is right. Yes, some of them, especially during the sectarian civil war in Lebanon, with Bashir al-Jmail and all those people in that time. I don't know if I offend any people. I'm not from Lebanon, so I have the freedom to talk in my way, unless if there is any reservations. Okay. Now, most of people who participate in constructing the intellectual contemporary heritage of Saudi of Arab culture in the 18th and 19th century were Christian. Nasif al-Yazji, Ahmed Faris al-Shiryaq before he converted Islam. Okay, many of those were Christian Arab. Okay, Mawarna or Maronic or whatever. Hard to accuse a whole social group because of some leaders and their behavior that serve their interest within certain historical part of period of our history. So yes, some of the Marwans, they don't like to be identified as Arab when they go outside the Arabic nations. You cannot blame them. Yes, they don't want to pay the price of being Muslims.
Yeah, that's the case sometimes, Dr. Rabih, but with the Maronites in Lebanon, it goes into a deeper roots in history. But Zahra, we will have actually an episode when we speak about, when we come to the Arab Revolution and the Sykes-Picot Agreement, and we speak specifically about the incidences in 1920, we will focus a lot more on that subject. She also mentioned that she said al-Kurd laysa Araban.
Oh yeah, and they didn't claim it.
Yes, so Kurds, we are saying that Kurds definitely, they are not Arabs ethnically, but we're saying that Arab identity is not an ethnic identity. Arab identity is larger than that. We're going to have a special episode about that, actually. There are some great Arab Kurds leaders who have been they propagated language and they propagated the Arab identity during their times in a great way. This separation between the Kurdish and the Arab identity is a modern phenomena, sort of. Do you agree to that, Dr. Rabih?
Yes. Here's the thing: why we try to put ourselves in a superior level, and then we accuse other people and claim they are discriminating against us. Here's the thing: Arab and Kurds, in ethnic level, they are different. Okay, yes, they live together in same countries, but when we talk about Arab and Kurds, we need to remember Kurds are Kurds as ethnic group, and they are different from Arab. And in Iraq and Syria, they are different from Turks in Turkey. They are different from Persians in Iran. So they are the largest Kurd is the largest ethnic group in this world that they don't have.
A nation.
We just get a paper published. My colleagues, Dr. Jihan Muhammad, Iraqi Kurdish, and me, we get a paper just accepted about the dream of Kurdish nation. It's going to be published earlier of 2021 in Digest of Middle Eastern Studies. So again, there is no issue with that. I don't see any issue with being different in terms of ethnic identity. So they are happy with their identity. We are happy with our identity. So why we should deal?
Right. No, we're not saying that we should not, we do not recognize that difference. We do recognize that difference. It's natural and obvious and apparent. But what we are trying to say that sometimes is not clear to so many people is that you can be both. Nothing prevents you from being both. Now, if you don't want to be, it's up to you. It's completely normal. Does not make you less of a Kurd or less of an Arab. But if you recognize yourself as a Kurdish person, and you also recognize yourself as an Arab person, this combination of identities is possible, is acceptable. Just like I consider myself American and I consider myself Arab.
Yeah, but here's the thing: America is for you. America is a nation, not an ethnic identity. You identify when you compare your American identity, you compare it with your Lebanese identity. But as an Arab, you are not identify yourself as white man. Even you check the box of being white because you have no choice. But you and me as Arab, you are lighter than me. We don't identify ourselves as white people. We identify ourselves as Arab people. So here's the thing: is when we talk about ethnic minorities, we need to pay more attention, because even not only religious minorities, even ethnic minorities who speak different language, some of them constitute part of our cultural matters, such as poetry. One of the most important poets in Iraq, Buland al-Haidari. Buland al-Haidari was Kurd, but who know Iraqi poetry, the contemporary Iraqi poetry, without reading Buland al-Haidari? He's one of the most popular names, and you cannot deny him. He's Kurd in terms of his identity, but he contributes to Arabic culture.
Right. Moving on, Dr. AlRebh, to the subject of Arabs before Islam. What Islam has described as al-Jahiliyyah, which translates to the age of ignorance. What do you think of that expression that was given by Islam, mentioned in the Quran 3 times, and was not mentioned before Islam? So Islam brought it as a new terminology to describe the age before it.
Yeah, it's aggressive description. No one can deny that. But here is the thing: the term Jahiliyyah itself was not about ignorance. It's about being anger in a positive way. So, for example, Amr ibn Kulthum, one of the most famous pre-Islamic poets, one of the poets of Mu'allaqat, Shura al-Mu'allaqat, he has one of his in his Mu'allaqa, he say, ألا لا يجهلن أحد علينا فنجهل فوق جهل الجاهلين. Okay, don't try us, or don't test our anger. So being angry to defend your tribe, we call it jahl. It's not jahl. Jahl here doesn't mean ignorance. It's mean getting mad for the sake of your tribe. So Quran doesn't blame the whole era of pre-Islamic history. He blames some behaviors in that time and describe them as Jahiliyyah. So was Quran or the heritage of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam hadith blame the whole historical stage before Islam and call it Jahiliyyah, or call some behaviors that Islam was not in favor with them I believe it's the second things. So it's hard to say it's a stigma unless if we insist reading it as the age of ignorance. So I prefer the English term pre-Islamic history is fair.
Right. وعلى رأي الدكتور عبد الله حتى بالعربي واقترح تسمية ذلك العهد. He the Professor Abdallah Saigh, a major professor from Iraq, he has also suggested in Arabic also to move away from the word al-Jahiliyyah and to name it the ما قبل الإسلام, العرب قبل الإسلام.
It's really hard to do it. We have tens of thousands of books being written about it.
Right, it's kind of late.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I might agree with you, Dr. Rabih, about that. What Islam meant is really focusing on the areas where it was considered as the weaknesses in society that Islam came to fight, and he focused on that, and he kept reminding people that do not go back to that type of mentality. And Islam has the right to do that. He's rebuilding the minds of the culture that he has entered, and trying to change some of the habits, some of the narratives of that time. So they had to use some aggressive, like you said, some aggressive methods, such as the destruction of the idols, such as the washing of the poetry of the Kaaba, etc. It might be aggressive, but they had their reasons. But what happened afterwards is a continuous dismissal of the history of Arabs before Islam, and يعني الاكتفاء, taking it as enough. Whatever after Islam has happened is the only history that's worth mentioning and studying. And by that, there is a sort of undermining for the Arab identity before Islam. So the Arab boy, such as I was growing up in Arab countries, you have an impression that we or Arabs were before Islam just a bunch of ignorant people doing bad stuff, fighting each other. They were worshipping idols. This is how cartoons depicted them. This is how movies depicted them. This is how shows, stories, and there was no really any emphasis or talk about any achievements that happened before there, or positive things that were before that age. And I feel at this going forward, especially when the national identity start to crystallize in the beginning of the 20th century, that was a weakness in our Arab narrative. What do you think of that?
Here's the thing. We did not have a great history in Arabian Peninsula before Islam. We need to acknowledge that. It was desert, okay? We have two major groups, nomadic people, Bedou or Bedouin, and some of urban people, some cities, especially in west part, Mecca, Yathrib, and that. So, first of all, we have Arabian Peninsula was mostly desert with some oasis, okay? And the tribal system was promoting people to fight each other and practice what we call ghazu, okay? Raiding each other and steal the money. And we had some mental belief that working by your hand is shameful. So Arab call those hand jobs that people practice by hand skills, mihna, and mihna is come from imtihan, which mean you disrespect it. So as a member of a respectful tribe, you need to be either
a warrior
or a bot. You say pottery, and it will be a great honor if you become
both,
like Antara bin Shaddad, okay, like Al-Muhalhil, Zir Salim, okay. Those people have their own things. One more thing, we didn't have great natural things other than desert So to influence Arab people to have visual culture. So we don't have a lot of bands, or even our idols. If you see the pictures, they are ugly. You cannot compare them with our neighbors. If we compare our idols we have in Arabian Peninsula with idols in Europe or in Bersia, they are way advanced compared with us. Okay, and here's the thing: is the honor of a tribe and fighting with each other, and the absence of visual culture, plus the absence of written culture. People didn't care a lot about writing and reading until more than 1 century after Islam. So most of our heritage about Jahiliyyah or pre-Islamic history and the early of Islamic stage and even Umayyad era
was oral.
Yeah, and they start writing them in the second half of Islamic calendar, second half of the second century. It was 150 something
right.
Hijri, which is tell us about why we don't know a lot about the pre-Islamic history. One more thing. Should we discard all the pre-Islamic history? No. But we need more archaeological studies that explain to us what's going on before Islam. For sure, those people who were in Arabian Peninsula were not just people who just like each other and fight each other and worship idols. It's okay to worship idols in that time. Okay, yes. We had a lot of Christian people and Jewish people in the Arabian Peninsula. And Surah Al-Quran, there's a surah talk about Ashab al-Ukhdud and the Christian people that been murdered by their king because they believe in Christianity. We have a lot of Jewish people in south of Arabian Peninsula. In east of Arabian Peninsula, where I come from, east of Saudi Arabia, we had a lot of Christian heritage there.
Right.
So
there was Dr. Jawad Ali from Iraq. He built a big encyclopedia of the history of Arabs before Islam, and there has been in the last couple centuries a lot of studies with the discovery of archaeological studies coming to the Middle East through the colonialists and the Western interest and the Orientalists. There has been a lot of discovery of that age, but with a closer examination, Dr. AlRebh, you'll find that there was, first of all, when we talk about Arabia before Islam, it's not only Al-Hijaz and Najd, it's also inclusive of Yemen, and it's also inclusive of the Manadhira or Al-Ghasasina of the Syria and Iraq. And there is, if there wasn't agriculture in Arabia much, there have a lot of agricultural accomplishments in Iraq, in Mesopotamia, and in Syria. And there are also trials of kingdoms, kingdoms that have been erected for very short periods of time, but they stood up for the Persian influence. They stood up for the Roman conquest in some cases. Ma'arak al-Dhiqar, the Battle of Dhiqar, is one of famous example of Arab tribes defeating the Persian conquest. And the trades and with mathematics, and there also have been a lot of history about the advanced medicine in Arabia that sometimes have been, I wouldn't say advanced medicine, but I would say that some heritage in medicine that has been also given to, especially through Jewish tribes, they've transferred that medicine to the upper peninsula. So, I mean, there is a lot of, I've discussed this in the Arabic episode in length. And I myself was shocked when I did my research that there's a lot to study, there's a lot to look at before. But like you said, if there was no writing, so it's very difficult to, and there was no interest in studying the archaeology or the artifacts, and there is no incentive because again there was no emphasis on Islam as an ideology that is over. It's over ethnicity. It dismisses ethnicity and it overrides it. Is not interested in studying Arabia, and that's not, again, for the Islamic purposes. That's not a bad thing. But over a long time of history, that can affect erasing people's identity from history, as you know.
Oh yeah.
And that's why it is, we are making a point that there is history for those who want to look, and there are accomplishments for those who want to look. Actually, some say that women has enjoyed a level of freedom that was rare in the world and before Islam, as far as creating trades like Khadija, creating a business empire, as far as picking men and getting engaged to men with their choice, as far as leading people like Hind, leading her tribe and participating in a Nadwa, participating in battles. So, and some say also that the phenomenon of gathering all the idols, 360 idols, like they say, of all the Arab tribes in Mecca, and preventing war during 4 months. That's an advanced cultural representation. That's a form of unity. That's a form of advanced, really, dialogue of and building of a civilization. To be able to bring people with their different ideologies, different religious, differences all together in one place. That's something to be mentioned in a positive light, But we haven't had that habit of looking at these things in a positive light.
Here's the thing: is yes, there are some positive signs about pre-Islamic history, and we have other negative things. The only sense of collective identity as Arab people, only sense of collective identity was the Battle of the Iqar, because this is the major event in the whole history as far as we know. We need some archaeological research in order to find another event, but this event was special not only for defeating Persian king. Even if Arab lost in that time, it's still an honor that Arab people come together as Arab are defeating their own honor. Because the Arabic culture was about avoiding the blame. For this reason, Arab people honored poetry. Any boat, any distinguished boat used to enjoy special status within his tribe. They try always to rise and mobilize their own tribal members and their allies in order to join them to fight against somebody else. But what happened with the Battle of the Iqar is this. Yom the Iqar, or the Battle of the Iqar, Arab, for the first time in the history, or the only time in the pre-Islamic history, they consider themselves as Arab against somebody else. Before that, most of their issues were within the Arabian Peninsula. They fight with each other. So, just like when we are brothers in the same house, okay, our last name is not matter because we all belong to the same family. So, the Battle of the Iqar is the major event that brought Arab to fight against what we call the other. one more thing is honoring of Al-Kaaba in Mecca. They all trust that they need to put their idols in the holy place and go to worship them there. Yes, it was a civilian sign that all Arab people respect a geographical location called Mecca. They don't fight in Mecca, and they respect timeline within within every year. They don't fight each other within those 4 months in order to let themselves to have a vacation. You can tell it's another negative sign. If you are allowed to fight within 8 months, that's mean war is a major thing in your history. So yeah,
of course, there are negative things, but because we have been taught the negative things over and over, and it has been part of the narration of the Quran too, right? The Quran has presented, described these ills of the society before it, and by it doing that, it has permanently have displayed these ills. So لا يخفى على أحد يعني. But thank you for making that point, definitely, because we don't want to miss and give the impression that we're only mentioning the positives. There were, of course, many negatives, and it was also, of course, a society that in need of much progress naturally, and we continue to be. And something else we're not going to go into, because that's a big subject all by itself, is the akhlaq, is the ethics and the values of the Arabs. That is has been, I would say, that was the greatest of the assets that they had, and they have portrayed it very well with their poetry. Such assets that can be a great asset for the whole world. Those powerful values that they had.
Yeah, but here's one more thing I want to just mention. When we talk about women with high status, such as Khadija, who was practice commerce, and she has her own money, and she was allowed as a noble woman to approach Prophet Muhammad to marry him. On the other side, Hind bint Utbah in Umayyah side, who wasn't enjoying good reputation as a woman. We don't want to go in depth with that, but she was a strong person. And for people who watched the movie Ar-Risala, she was the main character as a woman there. But here's the thing: if we count those handful characters, we can go to the Arab side with Zenobia in Al-Ghassasina kingdom. We can go to Europe and find some names. But when we talk about mainstream, Arab women were subordinated just like other women in the world. Yeah, we have some exceptions. In Arab culture, other cultures have their own exceptions. They had queens. They had queens, and they had some major characters.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. AlRebh. Yes, the subject that we want to now gradually move into is after Islam has come. How do you describe the relationship between the Arab identity and Islam?
For Arab who used to enjoy their status as masters, they were not happy at all. What can we see about those good friends and relatives of Prophet Muhammad when they were fighting him? They were intellectual with respect to the timeline. They understand what's going on. They know he has a point, even if they disagree with him, but they cannot imagine that he is bringing some new values serve against their interests. Equality, for example. How can you imagine I'm an individual and I will enjoy the same treatment that my slave enjoy it? It's clear that Prophet Muhammad is moving gradually to free slaves, to dismiss the tribal discrimination. Okay, no matter what kind of tribe you belong to, inna akramakum inda Allahi atqakum. And Quraysh, the civilian tribe in Mecca, was enjoying high status because of their blood bond. So now you are putting us equal with everybody else, and what kind of interest we will have. So it was a shock for a lot of Arab people. On the other hand, some other Arab people were sick of their status, like what happened in Al-Madinah. Imagine if Al-Madinah has a sense of unity and central authority, just like Mecca. They had long war between the major two tribes, which is Al-Aws wal-Khazraj. So they found Islam as a solution to them to become brothers. So yeah, Islam bring another sort of identity and bring meaningful sense of salvation, that people start to think about their afterlife in more advanced way, make them have their moral authority based on sacred matter, just like Christian and Jew. So they start to think about their afterlife and salvation in different way compared with pre-Islam.
Yes, Doctor, do you feel that as we have, as a Muslims have, expanded all over earth, and they, the Arabs have spread with Islam all over earth, and Islam was the identity that was moving across, not the Arab identity per se, although the Arabs were leading that movement. Do you feel that there was a merger between these two identities, or that the Arab identity was put aside?
For sure, nothing can convince people to go to fight and being subject to being killed. And, being a soldier at that time, you need to have something mobilize you to go to such a war. So when they used to fight within Arabian Peninsula, they used to fight for their tribal honor. Okay, so I know if I've been killed, my cousin's gonna take care of my family. Now, I'm fighting for somebody. I'm fighting for something bigger than or larger than a tribe. So I know if I go to fight, I'm gonna go to Al-Jannah. I'm gonna go to heaven. I am fighting in a holy war, jihad. So at that time, they were carrying Islamic identity. They go to fight as Muslims, and they go to ask people to join them and convert them to Islam, just like Christian kings used to do. And they keep doing that in the Crusade war. So yeah, they act as Muslims. However, the elites, the leaders, still want to enjoy their status. So within the elites, they discriminate against each other based on tribal bond. And it was obvious after the establishment of Umayyad kingdom.
Yes, where of course they Muawiyah, what he's done is he's redistributed wealth according to the tribal status, according to Arabic tribal status, before Islam. There is here a comment. It sounds as if you are saying that Aus and Khazraj converted to Islam because it was convenient to uplift their status.
I don't read their intention. I just try to analyze it as a political matter today. Okay, I don't. It's not my business to analyze their intention, if they were good people or bad people. Yes, they've been advised by Prophet Muhammad that if everybody go in one way, and Jathrib people, Ansar, and also which is
Al-Khazraj,
be in other way, I'm gonna go with them. There is no doubt, as a Muslim believer, I would prize their intention. But let's talk about it from practical side. Okay, Islam serve their interests, and there is no issue with that. We should understand that we are, as a human being, rational creations. We seek our salvation in the afterlife, but we are seeking our interest here. We are bringing a new thing called Islam is gonna unify us without feeling shameful from each other. So if we gonna blame Quraysh to reject a risala, reviews converting Islam, because it was against their interest, not because they were bad people, we should apply this to people in Al-Madinah. I'm not saying that this is the only reason, but we cannot deny it was one of the reasons, and it's work.
Not only that, even they have stated that in the beginning of their relationship with the Prophet, Bay'at al-Aqaba al-Ula, when the Prophet met them in Mecca during the Hajj season of the non-believers, the non-Muslims, or before Islam, and he presented them with his ideas, and they accepted it, and they thought that he can put a solution. He can be a solution for the ongoing war between them.
Yes. And just like Ibn Khaldun said, Arab people would never unify under one canopy, under one leader, non-tribal leader, unless if it's religion. So here's the thing, for this brother or sister who asks this question, let me ask this. What happened after Al-Aus al-Khazraj convert Islam? They start the war. So we are analyzing something on the table right now. We are reading what happened. Before that, they used to fight. After that, they unified. And part of them who found it against their interest practice nifaq, and they try to hypocrite, and they try to fight Islam under the table. Abdallah ibn Ubay and all those people, they lost their status, pre-Islamic status, so they were not in favor of Islam.
Right. Maybe on the other hand, Dr. Rabih, on the other hand, getting into war against Quraysh is not something that Aus and Khazraj would like to do.
Oh yeah.
They're very small tribes, and Quraysh is the leading tribe in Arabia. So it took an amount of faith and sacrifice to stand up to that challenge, and they were threatened by elimination completely, right? By annihilation. If, for example, Ghazwat Badr or Al-Khandaq happened and succeeded, they would have probably been annihilated and turned into slaves for Quraysh.
Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We can deny that. Again, we are not reading people's intention. We just try to analyze it based on facts. We have facts. We try just to read based on those given data and try to understand how it serves their own interest away from the spiritual part, which is completely respected from us. But again, we are in intellectual discussion.
Right.
Yeah,
thank you, Dr. Rabih. Because time is running away from us, I want to get into the subject of the modern relationship between Islam and Arab identity. We know that by the after the overthrowing of the Ottoman Empire by the Turks, by the CPU, by the Turkey al-Fatat. There was a Turkanization of the Ottoman Empire and the elimination really of being a Khilafah, and then after that it led to the deserting of Arabs to it. So when Arabs left the Ottoman Empire and they revolted against it in 1916 and succeeded by 1920, and they freed the Arab world with the help of Britain and France, the tricky help. there was a separation. There was kind of like a re-establishment of a new identity, and there was a new age of poetry and writing. It started with the Nahda, right? It started with the Arab awakening in the 1840s and on, and crystallized in the Arab state, which did not last because of colonialism. But how do you feel today the relationship between Islam and the Arab identity?
As we know, as Arab Muslims, we can see Islam is the major source of culture or intellectual discourse in our identity. So even non-Muslim Arab, they still consider Islam as part of their identity. A lot of Islamic value tend to be social values, so people accept them and build on them. For sure, colonialism by French or British were bad, but we cannot praise Ottoman Empire. Ottoman Empire was a disaster. They didn't appreciate Arab identity at all. They
suppressed it.
Yeah, they force Arab youth to go to fight for them in Europe and everywhere, just like those British and French. The only difference is this: if you are a Muslim believer, especially if you were Sunni, because Sunni Muslims believe in Khilafah as a sacred level, and it's a big shock for Sunni Muslims since the collapse of Ottoman Empire in 1920s. So if you are Muslim, especially Sunni Muslims, you would accept going to fight for the sake of Islamic Empire. Okay, this is the only difference. Okay, so yes, being colonized by non-Muslim force or power was a shock. But here's the thing: in terms of Arabic culture, did Turks or Ottoman Empire defend Arabic culture? No, it was minimum respect just to Quran and other religious matters, and that's it. Okay, newspapers were in Turkey, even in Egypt and Syria and Iraq. Yes, they allow some Arabic newspapers, but if you want to be intellectual, you need to know Turkish language.
Yeah, Arabic language was suppressed. Arab culture was suppressed. The Arab societies that celebrated Arab identity were secretive.
Oh yeah.
And then they have become the national movement later. Today, an Arab might live in when I end with this, Dr. AlRebh, an Arab might be an immigrant to the United States or any country in the West, and he has accepted this new identity or have integrated into it. It seems like at a certain point, it's a matter of choice and effort, whether you want to protect and keep your heritage or you want to override it and forget it and move on. What do you feel is the value of keeping and protecting your Arab identity in addition to all these intersectional identities that you have acquired?
Yeah. As an immigrant, I have been in the United States for 13 years. I came here in age of 30, and now I am 43. I may not have experience with American society like you, Mr. Wissam Sharafuddin, but what I can think about it as a sociologist is this: for Arab youth, no one can respect you if you try to hide your identity. Your identity gonna appear one day from your first name, from your last name, or from your color skin, from any other thing. Okay, you cannot deny your heritage. You need to be proud of it, because each part of the history has some major states with their cultures influencing everybody. We used to influence the world. We used to go to colonize world in Asia, in Europe, in Africa, and now we are behind other powers who know what will happen in the future. One day, after 100 years or so, we might see Americans afraid of Chinese. China is rising right now. So Arab identity is part of our identity. If we hide it, we're gonna lose it, but we are not gonna gain other sort of identity. If you want to abandon your identity, young man or lady, here in Dearborn or in any other part of United States, what kind of identity you're gonna adopt? American identity, it's American nationality. You can keep it with your Arab identity. You're gonna give up your religion. Religion is about your personal choice. If you wanna keep practicing religion or you wanna be a full secular person, okay? Even if you don't identify yourself as Muslim, your name Abdullah or Muhammad or Fatima or Aisha or whatever is gonna keep you be considered as Muslim. So yes, nobody would get benefit from abandoning their identity, and it's okay to have intersectional identity, being Arab, being Muslim or Christian, being American. There is no issue with that. Yeah.
Thank you, Doctor. This is an important point also that you've mentioned, and we might have a separate episode just for that. That you said, even if you try to hide your Muslim identity, or you try to, it's a matter of faith. So you might have a change of faith, or you might have desert certain beliefs or ideology. But at the end, it's not only an ideology; it has become a culture and has mixed up with you as in a cultural way, not only in an intellectual way. It's also part of us in a cultural way, and we need to find that peace in being in peace with our culture, with our heritage, with the things that make up who we are, even if we sometimes don't believe in certain things, but there's other elements that are part of our, and there is no contradiction in that.
Oh, yeah.
I do not have to, sometimes you'll find a Christian Arab who's a Muslim in culture, right? He's also partly Muslim because of the Islamic Arabic civilization has mixed together. So being Muslim and Arab have mixed together, and there's no shame in that. You don't have to have the faith to have the culture. Thank you, Dr. AlRebh. There was a last question. I don't want to leave it. Hassan Al-Badr says also, he says, Taqif of Ta'if rejected to back Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and his family, and mocked him when he approached them. So yes, many Arabs, they have rejected the Prophet at the beginning of the Islam. Later on, most of these Arabs have rejoined Islam after they have seen the benefit of being united under one flag, and they have actually created a large Arabic state, Al-Umayyad state, Rashidun state, and Umayyad state, Abbasid state, and then the Fatimid state, and that was the end of the states that were ruled by Arabs. And then Islamic Khilafah took over by the Ottomans until the fall of the Ottoman Khilafah. And here we are now trying to re-establish and re-understand our identity. Thank you for all those who participated. Thank you, Dr. AlRebh, for your time and for participating in this episode. We hope to see you in upcoming more episodes in Arab Identity and other programs for the Arab American Center for Culture and Arts. And have a great night, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Sharafuddin. It was a great honor to be with you, and it was a pleasure to join you in this great program. And I am looking forward to be with you in the future. Thank you.